Supposed to say yes.
Yes.
There you found one.
I keep checking the thing, but
The where's my truck at?
something like that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we call to order the special council meeting of the Tracy City Council for Monday, September 16th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you please be seated.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. First and second, any questions or discussion? Go to vote, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
Teigs,
Aye.
Jones. Aye. Mayor Dimmers.
Aye. Agenda is approved as written. So let's dive right into the discussion of the proposed 2020 budget.
All right, so Friday, I would have sent out the expenditures and revenue of the preliminary budget here. And in front of you, you should have a list of the budgeted transfers for the end of 2020. I don't know, hopefully y'all had a chance to kind of look and stew over it over the weekend. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. Based on what we have here right now, we were sitting at an 8.2% levy increase. 8.2. The biggest thing, I guess, I know we had a capital improvement list for the next, was it 10 years, I believe. So for each department for capital improvements, based on the 10 years when everything needed to be replaced, we took that list and we imported it into the budget. So that's probably most of the increase there is the difference in equipment. If you take those off, it puts us right at about, it was like 0.5% or something for levy. So the only other option there is to maybe, like Todd had said at the last meeting, could look at doing a bond for equipment, and so you're not taking the hit all at once. Other than that, I did figure a little portion in wages. We don't know where that's going to be at, and I know Peggy and I counted through it pretty thoroughly to make sure everything was where it needed to be, so we're not over or under based on the current trend of the year. So
Is it still, Shane, roughly 10 grand per percent, or is it more than that this time?
I can tell you real quick here. So 10 grand is about, it's 0.54%.
Okay, so it's a half a point.
Yeah. It just depends on the revenue streams and
Yep.
how everything.
Yeah, it just,
You can't really set a number on it, but
it's a floating number, but it gives you something you can, that he took the 40,000 that we talked about for the new tractor, and put it on that bond refinance. That and the loan could drop that proposed increase by 2%, 2.5%.
tell you exactly here.
And that would spread that out 5 years, was that what Todd was saying?
I think that's what it was, yeah.
It was 5, it was 4 or 5.
We're at 6.03.
Maybe about 2%, yeah. That'd be a start in the right direction.
Did we put anything in here for training?
For the council. I guess on 5,000 somewhere in
I think it's 5,000.
Was it
there. For some
5,000?
reason that's ringing.
What did we have last year for training?
Year-to-date, it said $70.97, so $71.
That's what we had budgeted last year?
We had nothing
The
budgeted.
budget was not anything
None.
last year.
Nothing.
So we put 5,000 in this year.
Okay. What page are you on?
The back of the first one on the expenditure.
The mayor and council 411 fund.
Right, okay.
That can be reduced, but you don't have any new council members coming on until the following year, but because then you're gonna need 3 possibly, 4. 3. That's
Well-
gonna have to go to the first time training.
And I think we've identified a need for training by the entire council and the E EDA.
EDA has
EDA
their
wouldn't
own-
fall in the mayor and council budget.
No, I know that, but, given the events of the last few months, I think it's pretty obvious that there's training needed.
Yeah, and that can be budgeted under EDA if that's,
Right now, 5,000 means it's $1,000 for each of us.
That's too
Because we're not going to have new members. I mean, they'll be voted in November, but they won't be starting until January, which would be the 20.
Be the 2021 budget that you gotta put it into. That's where you're gonna need it. If you spend it now, you're not gonna have it then.
and we trained the whole council actually was there at the caboose.
Yeah.
And it was $70.97 expended,
I
so.
mean, even if we drop that to half, that's still $500 for each
What
one
it had
of
been in
us.
what it had been in the past, is about $800 a year. I don't know if it shows it.
Well, there were
That
several
wasn't in
trainings that
18 or
they've
19.
had that we didn't go to because we didn't have it budgeted.
Nobody
that's
asked about anything.
I did.
Oh, that
Well, let's
first
just
I
say
heard
this one that's sitting here on my desk.
Well,
It's
the answer was we don't have anything in the budget, so there's no point
$55
going
per
further.
person. I mean, most of them through
That's
the
true.
League of Minnesota are not real expensive. It's mostly expensive when you throw in your hotel.
Travel, your mileage and hotel adds up.
Yep,
I think even
Ridiculous.
$500 per council member is more than
More than adequate.
adequate.
One could use the others.
Yeah.
Someone wanted to go and someone else didn't. So you wanna reduce, 411, 241 to 2,500?
Yeah. That at least gives us a place to work from.
We've been going from 0 to 2,500. I think that's a large jump.
Your transfers out that you're showing these, that's for your capital improvements? So you down to admin, you got 10 grand for transfer out, is that?
Those we weren't sure on. You're talking, the 608, 602, and 603?
Well, it'd be the
413,
413,
401.
401, yeah.
And 43141.
Okay, so those two transfers are, see, one goes in the parts improvement, I think the other one ended up going in, that one's equipment improvement for the street department.
Out of admin into those two?
Admin last year, we found it was funding the parks improvement fund.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I guess it really don't matter, it's general fund, but, and then the 431 is a transfer out into the equipment replacement fund. So, and that 40,000 would be taken out of that number
Yeah.
if we decide to go with that bond, so,
Out of the street one.
out of this one, yeah, on the transfers. And moving down, civil defense, I think 2 years ago, they started putting $1,000 away a year for the siren updates. So that's transferred into the police, and then 12,500 for squad cars transferred into their account. And then I know the fire went up from 40,000 to 61,400 based on that capital improvement plan that the department head gave out, so.
So with that capital improvement plan, that took out all the equipment we got replaced through the flood stuff and everything. Okay.
There's actually still equipment that's in limbo that sounds like it's going to be funded. That's why it was not on that working copy of the capital improvements.
But if that doesn't go through, then we're
We will
not.
have the cash, should have enough cash. Or we'll have to do a 3-year lease till we have the cash.
Anything particular you're looking for a preliminary levy?
We try to shoot, you mean for a number?
For prelim, I know Abdo says 6% is pretty much common across the state.
And try to get it down to closer to.
Last
3.
time we were like 3 and some change last year when we did the final, so
Didn't we start at like 10 though?
it was up there, yeah.
I thought we did.
We were high.
way up.
It was way up there.
And the problem we've had in the past, so your preliminary sets everybody's, they've got the preliminary tax statement.
Yeah.
And if you have some outrageous number in there, like 10, 15%, if you're really gonna plan on being down at 3%, there's really no reason to have it that high when your target's down here. Cause all you're doing is giving everybody sticker shock when they get their
Right.
preliminary tax statement, when it's not really actually gonna be that amount. So, you know, if you wanna shoot for 10%, then yeah, budget for 10%. But you wanna try to be as accurate you can, but you still you don't wanna tie your hands
You need some wiggle room
in
in
the
there.
event you need some wiggle room, something was missed or,
Yeah, go higher
Yep.
than the proposed.
go lower but not higher, so.
So you don't want to cut yourself short with,
Which I think is why we went with 10 last year, was for that reason right there.
But right-
Knowing that we were gonna come down significantly from that.
Right now, if we're at a 8.2, but if we take out the 40,000, that got us down to 6.3
Oh, 3.
something.
03.
Right there, which I think that's a pretty good, knowing we're already making some cuts here. You know, granted, the 2,500 isn't gonna drive us for 3%, but I mean, that's just the first.
I can
First
tell you, with
one.
that 2,500, we'll be at, $5.89.
Oh, Tam, on the liquor store one for the office supply? Tam?
Yeah.
The office supply one goes to 26, is that for the new POS?
That does not cover the POS. I don't know where that came from.
It's on
The supplies,
Page
anything that
32.
applies to your computer that you requested is under office supplies.
Okay, so that's the computer instead of the POS.
Is
Okay.
that what that is? Okay,
Say that again now?
It's the computer because it was a lower dollar amount than 5,000, so we put it under office supplies.
Just so everybody knows, the 501 fund, the equipment improvements, the auditors really want to see anything coming out of there be $5,000 or more in value.
So we did it.
Because it's considered a depreciable item at that point. Everything less is just day-to-day.
gotcha.
That's what we do too.
Gotcha.
Peters, they're really,
Yep.
and as far as the enterprise funds, those funds will not affect the levy amounts. So what's gonna hit your levy are the 101 funds. But if there's anything that you can see in the other funds too, we definitely point them out, be the time to do it.
We need to talk again.
Might see anything that looked out of place.
Yeah, we're not gonna go department by department through this.
I think that'd be easier then, because we're jumping all over.
Yeah.
I'd rather start at the beginning like
We
we
hit
did.
council, so if you guys wanna just go through this and then,
Go ahead.
Get them. What
So
page,
this
John?
is,
You know what number you're on?
page 3, is that
3, yep.
421?
Police protection. You see down there, there's a 16.78% increase on regular wages. The union contracts, I don't know where they're at, but that's city's figure, I don't know. I would like to request a raise for next year. I've been chief now for 8 years without requesting a raise. So I had a brief discussion with Shane about wanting a raise personally. I don't know where the union contracts are for theirs, but and I don't know if that's what it's reflecting, the 16%. So the things that stood out to me were the, if you go down to 421-201, it says office supplies. There's $5,600 in there. I don't know where this,
You get a new computer too. You get 2,500 for computers.
okay. So is that in the capital improvement then, and went from that to this?
Yeah.
Okay. The operating supply where it says $2,800. That one, I've never had an operating supply item number before, so I don't know where this one came from and if
We
it's,
went off because you'd used 1,055.31 of a 1405 budget.
but I don't know how that got coded that because I've never coded anything with a 210 number on it before.
That's
Operating supplies.
kind of the citywide
Is that the code
copy
for the
machine
copy
use,
machine and the
postage
paper,
use.
Okay.
postage?
All right,
paper.
Yeah.
It kind of all
The
falls into
allocated.
that instead of having a whole bunch of line items for each department. I know that's been that way, what, 3 years now? I
okay. That
think,
was just
so.
something I questioned
Then why
because
did we
I don't
double
ever
it?
code anything with a 210 code on it, so I just
Why did
questioned that.
that double?
That we'd have to pull individual invoices to find.
Yeah, that's actually more than doubling.
That 210 one though, none of us sign off on that on a monthly basis.
Right.
That's the one that's just for all the general stuff in the office that we benefit from, whether it's fire billing for me or whatever. that's where that all comes from my understanding.
That postage has gone up and,
Postage, paper, yeah, the
Yeah.
postage rate was included in here.
okay,
Paper's out for bid right now.
Number of copies made, just based on averages is what it,
okay.
We
Uh,
had budgeted 1,400 for that and it went up to 28. Why the
1,400 budgeted,
Steep
but we're
jump.
already at over 12. We're at just about $1,100 already in the year and over yet, so. I mean, it could probably, I don't know, could you project that based on months?
Yep, so it would be, and I bet if you take 1055.31 divided by 8, that times 12, but you'll get close to 2,800.
It seems a little high though, don't it?
Then the transfers out has gone up a lot, and thought I'd just kind of explain that and that's kind of been always where, when somebody wanted to cut money out of the budget, that's where it came from with my budget to cut. So I try to average $10,000 a year for new squads, so that I always have a bank account in my 800 fund to pay for a squad. So just in the rare event that a squad car got totaled in an accident, or there would always be enough money there to replace right away before the insurance kicked in. And so that's why I try to average that $10,000 average. We talked about before this with the capital improvements, the squads are on a 6-year rotation, and it's beginning to be too much, 6 years with the equipment in there. I mean, at the end of 6 years, the laptops are out of date. I mean, they can't even add any stuff from the laptops in 6 years. So in the new capital improvement, we went to a 4-year schedule to see how it panned out, but 4 years would be back where we used to be years ago. But even if we went to, I don't know how it would pan out any different if we went to a 5-year schedule, but 6 is too much. So we're getting way too many repairs in 6 years when the squads are reading that match go, or the end of their life in 6 years. So I believe that 12.5 is probably on a 4-year schedule for the
Yeah,
capital
that's okay.
improvement, correct? Okay.
So then the next one down there, the equipment and improvements,
And that I don't understand. I don't spend anything out of that for the $5,000. It should be out of the 800, I believe, but in my notes on my budgeting, I keep track on an Excel form for budgeting for the year. And it says anything that's spent out of 501, the auditors don't like to see, and should come out of a 800 budget.
Wasn't there something in there that you requested, Peggy? Was that 501? I remember discussing it. Was it something part of the CIP?
We put the computer under office supplies, when we did the car, and the do you have anything else that you remember off the capital improvement? I think those were the two, I mean,
No.
and I mean,
The only thing I think it was some flooring, but that keeps getting kicked back year to year to year to year to year every year, so it never happens, so.
is there any way we can find what the 2,400 was spent on?
yeah, want me to go look right now?
Well, I think you have to go do it now. If you just start a list.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I would imagine that the 2,400 was something to do with the 2019 squad purchase, and possibly didn't get coded right to the 800 and got coded under the 501 for equipment, but that would be my guess, so.
So then would we need the 5,000 in the 2020 budget?
Right, that's the question.
Should we omit it if that was,
Yeah. That's what I have.
Then, so the operating supplies, are we gonna reduce that some too, or not?
Say what now?
The operating supplies, we kinda just moved on from that.
I just figured we could probably drop that by 1,200. And be all right there.
Go back to the 1,400, you mean, or
It ended up being like 15, 1600.
go to 1,600?
1,600?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on that then?
Like you guys' vests and all that, is that figured in here?
Personal equipment?
Or-
Yes.
Okay,
Well, all the uniform stuff comes out of uniform allowance.
okay.
The vests, I believe, we're taking out of the equipment out of the 800 fund, but that goes through state and federal reimbursement grant programs. So we get it back in
I'm sitting here trying to think of what other equipment you would have that I don't want us to cut it out. You
Yeah.
know, I want you guys to have vests, you know.
Yeah, how we doing on radios and that kind of thing? We good with that?
all right.
They're all new.
No, we only got 2.
We only got 2.
Yeah,
I only got 1, but we're good for a while.
yeah. I think I do have a new radio budgeted in 2 or 3 years. So, not this year.
And is the wages request your request for a wage, or is that just?
Well, you have the union request.
Yeah.
I'm making a request.
And you'd be able to tell us, I mean, it's a 16.7.
Everything on here for wages is an assumed 3% plus steps for everybody, regardless of.
If they're in the union or not. So it would include Jason. Is you serious, have not gotten a raise?
I've not asked for a raise in 8 years of being chief, no. I've gotten like the cost of living, whatever everybody else has gotten over the years.
Anybody got anything else for chief? Thank you, sir. Dale, you wanna talk to us?
Because I'll start on the bottom of the same page.
Yeah, I'm just going in order of what's on here. So I'm not picking on you, man.
I apologize, the sheet I just borrowed from Jason only has part of it.
Other side, the next page.
Yeah, this doesn't have
No
that.
pages I needed.
Sure,
That's a-
thank you. Okay,
And that's all you get.
that's all I need. I was looking for the 2020.
Yeah, this only has 19 on it.
Yep, that's what I was looking through. No, thank you. Here, you can have this back. Okay. Any questions for me?
Well, let's start with that very first one. Wages.
Okay,
Why the bump of a 62.5?
that would have been the discussion that you guys had with Chris
We just
when you
voted
went
that.
to the hourly rate.
We approved that.
$12.
Yep,
And it went up that much.
It was only like $680 before, is what it averaged out, because we were paying annually. So we take everything and divide it and get it hourly.
Okay.
So we were about $680, now we're at $12.
That explains that then.
And a lot of that is offset in the revenues portion. I'm not sure exactly where we're at right now for the year to date, but we've had some rather large checks that have came back in.
so we're not budgeting anything for uniforms or,
Well, we normally budget 500.
You're at 37,701 for revenues for fire.
So should we put 500 in uniforms for you, Dale?
Probably should.
yeah, that's,
Office supplies, we dropped that just a little bit this year.
you're at a third of what you were last year.
We actually got a new copier last year, printer copier.
So you're comfortable with that? Okay,
Actually, we got a new printer copier and 2 computers last year. So, yeah. Motor fuels is always a guess, depends on the year. Also is offset by revenues. For those of you that don't know, a lot of our revenues come back in. It's based on the man hour, which is $17.75 an hour we bill out for the man hour. And revenues is based off an hourly rate per piece of equipment. So when we do get to the billable rate, anything that's more than a 3-hour call, we end up bringing back in revenues by the hours. The trucks range anywhere from $200 to $400 an hour, depending upon the truck and what the truck's capable of, and then the $17.75 an hour per man hour. So that helps offset some of the motor fuels. I believe a lot of the truck money right now does get allocated into the equipment fund, kind of like a wear and tear deal, because that's also where any major repairs, pump issues or whatever come out of.
You're good on radios also?
We have all new radios. And they are listed actually in our capital improvements fund.
The transfers out went up by 53%.
That was the increase in, based on the capital improvement plan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That transfers out into the 804 fund, I think.
Yes. And I'm not sure how the capital improvement plan that I did comes into effect. Never seen the system other than the email that came out last month.
We just used, that's for ABDO to eventually get everything figured out over to the next 10 years, but we just use those amounts for this year's budget, just so we stay on track.
I think that's a great idea. I think it's all about having money to buy stuff instead of having to bond and make payments on stuff.
It's gonna be painful in the beginning, but
You know, honestly, I don't think much more than this 61.4, and partly just depending upon how you look at the revenue sides of it. You know, before we started doing this way, the old transfers out we had, we actually used what we got for rural townships, what we got taken in for fire calls for equipment, not so much for man time, and based it all out on an Excel spreadsheet. And I believe the number on there was right at 60,000 is where the target eventually was supposed to be. So this seems really close to me. Problem being with some of the fire stuff is, you know, every 20 years you hit a $600,000 piece of equipment. Then it might be 7 years later and you hit a couple of them pieces overlap where they're going to be on the same 10-year spread, to where if you're only looking at it in a 10-year window, that number is going to fluctuate fairly drastically. If we would have went out 9 years on this, I believe this went to 2029, right? 2028, we have a $700,000 expenditure, which is what jumped this number so bad. So if we were only doing an 8-year one, this would probably look a lot better.
yeah, but I think we're better off
Better off funding.
doing it now and over the course of the next 8-9 years than slamming up against it.
Are they putting any of the revenues, figuring into the revenues back into the capital improvements? Probably not.
For calls, a lot of that feeds the wages part.
A lot of it feeds the wages. Rural township money, that's probably not figured into the capital improvements, where it's always been going.
I don't know where that's figured in.
Because that puts you right back at the 40. I mean, at the end of the day, all the numbers still add up. It's just a matter of where you put them in the motion.
Well, as we move forward, this capital improvements remains that 10 years out, right? So next year it's,
Then it'll go 2030.
so that, yes. I think that's a good window myself, that we should be fairly well prepared.
So with your travel and conferences, you're running year-to-date at 10,000, almost 11,000. Budgeted 75.
And I have received a majority of, I think we got underfunded back from the grant, like $341 less than we requested. I just got an email on that. That would have been a month ago. The state did their reimbursement
And
back,
the reimbursement payment.
would have been back at the end of July.
Yep.
So the $7,500 travels, conferences, and schools. The training grant that we write every year, every other year, last year we were given $205 per fireman, which does not include any mileage or hotel or meals for them to go to different classes, seminars, or for us to host the courses here. So last year was a large year where I think it was $8 million that they had to play with in that account. So after our 205, we just keep sending the slips in, and then at the end of their fiscal year, at the end of June, sometime mid-July, they reallocate. Dave didn't use all his money and Tony didn't use all his money, so I used too much money. They give me their money. So this year, I bet if you look back, or if we could look up where we're actually at right now, what we received back in on the revenue side, I bet we've received in close to at least $9,000.
That makes sense why there was a negative number in the 2018, because of being reimbursed.
Correct.
Okay,
Now-
it makes sense.
But we're
Now,
in
the-
mid-year yet.
Yeah,
Now, the problem also lies is next year I'm only given $46 per fireman, and there's hardly any money left in the kitty. So every other year, we end up using that 7,500 religiously. And depending upon the trainings that we do the year with the extra money, we end up using a good portion of that, especially if I end up sending people to a lot of the fire schools, because they're in Duluth and Rochester and they're four-day deals. Well, very good training. You went to one this year. I mean, it's well worth every penny, and it's great for us because when Jason went, it covered all his cost of the training, and all that the taxpayers paid for was his travel and lodge. So,
well, it's making the numbers make more sense to me. Because I'm wondering, why were we negative, and then we budgeted 75, and now we're way over 75, but we're going back to budget 75. So it makes sense now with, I knew you had gotten grant money somewhere, but I didn't know if that was included,
so that's really about the only account that I have that we overspend, and there's a lot of grant money that goes back in. Any of the other grants are ran for equipment, are normally ran through the 804 fund.
Okay, that explains it, thank you.
Anybody got anything else for fire chief? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
To answer the question, Jason's 421501, that expenditure was enforcement lighting LLC. That was for the lighting, that 2,400 was for the lighting in the
On
squad.
the new squad, yeah, that's what I was thinking it might be.
So does that mean we can
We
not
can-
budget that 5,000 then?
Should have come out of
What's that?
probably should have came out of the 800.
So you don't wanna, that's part of the 12.5 that'll work? Okay.
So we can knock that out of there.
Wipe it out completely, or? Sorry.
So if we're gonna wipe out the whole 5,000, 12.5 will still be enough for you.
It'll still be in the 800 fund out of that 12.5.
Yep.
Yep.
Library's probably next in the numerical order, other than.
Building inspection.
That's gonna do me too.
Well, that's, so these guys, if they wanna leave.
Yeah, that's fine. Library,
That'll be under 441.
we need to get Shane out of here too.
Okay, so I was just looking at, I think there might be something off with the regular
Yeah, there is on
wages.
your wage. I'm figuring it right now.
You're figuring it out?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think I'm getting a,
Oh, that'd be a nice.
I mean, if you
one.
want to give me, you know, a $9,000 rate raise, I would be fine with that,
You're
but
not
it's
thinking-
probably, yeah, it's probably a mistake, yeah. And then the only other big change, I think, is the maintenance and repair, and that again is the capital improvement. Do we have tuck pointing this year?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tuck pointing.
Yeah, so that'll be on the back of our building. You can see where there's some spaces in the bricks there, and we need to get that taken care of. So, utilities, we're gonna bump down a little bit, and I think, you know, we should see some improved efficiency with our new heating and cooling system. I already noticed a big drop from last year in our last electric bill, so, you know, I think we'll see some improvement there. And then other contractual, I bumped that up a little bit. You know, that includes like the copier contract, the inspections for the lift, and then it also includes all of our Plum Creek fees, which would be our delivery, our automation system and all that. And with them not getting any increases from the state in funding, that of course gets passed on to the library. So we'll need to increase that a little bit. And I should, you know, we'll be getting some funding through the county also that will offset our budget. And I typically ask them for an increase based on the Plum Creek fees, because that's what they would like their funding, or at least some of it, to go for that they give us, so.
The 222 maintenance, that's gone up 233%.
Yep, that's what the tuck pointing.
Yeah.
That'll be our,
Next year, it'll probably be back down to the 1,500,
well, it depends on what,
depending, yeah.
you know,
That's part of the capital outlay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of put like a different capital outlay thing for us every year to kind of look at, so. It'll fluctuate.
Anybody got anything else for Val?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That looks more.
She's gonna be 601, 491. Page 32.
Like 32.
32.
Alcohol you're gonna drink on Wednesday.
So I see that the part-time wage went up. That's good, because I've gotten a lot of stuff from employees about how local areas' wages are higher than ours. Regular wages, when I was hired, Chris told me, I can hire you at this dollar amount, and when you turn that place around, I'll be able to give you a raise. I'm thinking that last month we were 46,000 ahead, and 15,000 more in inventory constitutes turning that place around, and we'll continue to do that. So,
What's your anniversary date?
September 16th, I believe,
Today?
15th, 16th, something like that, is it?
Today would be
Something.
September
I
16th?
think it's somewhere, yeah, right in this week.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah. Peggy, for the office supplies, does that include the contract for like the year or whatever? Or where does the POS system come into this?
So the point of sale system would be purchased this year, correct? Your new system?
Yeah, like we're gonna put it on the yeah. So I don't have to worry about that on this one? We're gonna
Correct,
put it
because
on
you
the,
would buy it now
now.
in 2019.
Okay. since I'm new at this, I'm not sure how this whole thing works here. I know when, like for travel and conferences and that kind of thing, I know like when Chris told me they didn't budget that much because Sandy never did anything or sent any of her employees to training. I just got a letter today from the Minnesota Western Human whatever saying that make sure you keep training your people because they're pushing this whole safety thing. So I might want to bump that up a little bit because every year they need to be going back to like training and that kind of thing.
So right now it's 500, we had budgeted for 19 and we increased it to 900.
And right now, so far, we've been 859.
Don't know how much you're gonna plan on training compared to this year.
So, I mean, it's like we have 3 more I mean, that kind of is probably right, I mean, close to it, but what if you go over it a little bit? Is it?
Comes out of your wing.
I mean, so it's fine for right now, but just
Well,
like
it's
in
one
the
of those, you
future.
just need to plan what you're sending people to for that whole thing.
But like it said, like the liquor training thing right off the bat, and some of that is if you find who you get it through, some of it's free or whatever, but,
The MMBA will have a lot of it online too.
Yeah.
You can utilize them so they can sit at the computer. I mean, you might have to pay them an hour to come in and sit at the computer and do
kind of a
it.
thing.
But then a bunch of it would be free to you in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
My only other question is like, in '06, it said the liquor purchases were 136. And year-to-date for us right now is 136, but then for the budget, they lowered it down to 129. And same like in the beer category. 18 was 237. Year-to-date,
I thought we did change those. Because now they match exactly what 2019.
Yep.
I thought we changed that up.
Yeah, so did I. Just a second. We'll go back to the printed copy.
and like mixes, it went down, which I'm buying the mix better than they did before, so hopefully it should continue to go down, but I just kind of wondered like how they went down instead of when they spent. So that's my only other questions.
No, we didn't. We checked. We clicked on mixed purchases, cigarettes, and liquor store supply. So what are you thinking your expenses are going to go up for liquor?
I mean, if they spent 5,000 in 18 and we only have it budgeted for 4,000 in 20,
Where are you on that?
Mix.
The very bottom part of
Oh.
it, starting at
Like that.
liquor
Wages and
purchases,
the
beer
purchases.
purchases.
Mixed purchases, I gotcha.
And that's always hard to say too with beer, because beer is on a track lately. They're bumping up prices every 6 months.
well, and like
You're getting,
a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we like majorly stocked up because the prices are going up, you know, kind of a thing. So to compare to keep with Marshall, it's like we can retain the price longer. You know what I mean? So
because we're doing lower volume.
that's when I put those little sad faces on the invoices that I send you. It's like, sorry. But in the long run, it catches up with itself, you know, when you buy something, because it's like Windsor, it was like the cheapest they ever had, and they gave us a $6 kickback. Well, so you buy more because we go through 34 cases or 34 bottles a week or a month or whatever, but
You have a percentage on that?
so it kind of kicks back. I mean, eventually makes us more money, but it doesn't do so well to begin with.
What I did is I took what your purchases have been up to the 8th month, so up through August. It looks like you'd have 190,000 in liquor and about 280,000 in beer.
I didn't hear what you said. 190, what?
So if I look at your liquor purchases, where you're at over the last 8 months,
Okay,
if you stay on that same track, you'd be at 190,000.
okay.
And then for beer, the same process, you would be trending to 280,000. Or $279,904.
I mean, and I don't think we need to do that much, but you know what I mean? It's like,
Well, and I would guess that
But
your
if it's
purchases.
run-
Well, if that's what you're
last quarter
tracking.
Aren't as much as your purchases
in the summertime, yeah. Although November and December is a big month too. But
As
January,
big as June and July?
Bigger.
yeah, I was gonna say
Christmas
November and
and-
December
yeah.
is, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
I would think with those two numbers, you'd probably be darn close to what next year should be.
Okay.
You'll be awful, and if it comes in less, oh darn, but
Yeah,
What was the liquor?
190.
190.
liquor 190 and then beer 280.
Okay.
Like,
We're gonna do anything with
and very
mixes?
few products are getting cheaper.
Mixes we did it, I think, just like I gotta go back.
Like I said, beer's on about a 6-month.
Yeah, and pretty soon it's gonna,
Jack it up.
yeah, because they're gonna raise the price
Pretty
pretty
soon
soon.
everybody's gonna start drinking liquor. And I don't have any issue with that.
Can beer get much more expensive?
And
We're
what
just
they
working
did was-
steps here. We can't afford.
And I would
Like
think on the.
Mick and Bud went, no, yeah, Mick and Bud went up, and they thought that the other was gonna follow them, and they didn't. So then they had to come with this sale price. So now they pulled it off, thinking that Coors and Miller are gonna raise their prices and be with them again. That's what
And
they're
your
doing.
mix, I would think, would probably be the same type of bump up.
The
Just
nice
as-
thing is I'm buying that better than it was
But I
before.
mean, but just
But just, yeah,
volume wise, you're probably gonna be up.
especially when I get to the highway. Yeah.
5770.
58.
For mixes?
For mixes, yeah, 5,770.
And what goes,
I think we're fine with that one.
Okay.
and what goes into 907? The bottom of the last line.
Look, the liquor store supplies.
What's actually in that category? Any?
Is that
I have
like,
to look it up.
I'd have to
I think
see
it's,
what's
that supply thing is like toilet bowl cleaner and paper towels and that kind of
The
stuff.
Dollar General purchases.
Yeah.
That should be under 222 though. Maintenance and repair building.
Oh,
Store
really?
supplies.
Okay. I might have been putting that the wrong place then, sorry.
Usually the 9 codes are your resale codes. Stuff you're gonna resell.
Okay. Well, that's good
Unless
to
it's
know.
like ice or something.
I was gonna say, could that be
That
your
goes
ice?
under mix.
Oh, that goes under your mix?
Mhm.
So that would you just find out what that is.
So you want me to start
And
putting
maybe
under
it's covered
222?
already in something else. I mean,
Yeah.
we're only
Well,
budgeting
Work
800
with
bucks.
Peg.
Yeah.
And those increases are gonna be offset by
What
revenue
you want me to
anyways.
put?
Right.
Okay.
It's not gonna affect the
Yeah.
levy.
It's a sales, yeah.
Yep, it's not a.
My other question that I had down here was with the printing and publishing, with us moving the liquor store, probably the end of 19.
Good idea.
Beginning of 20, if we want to put a little bit more in that, because we're going to want to do some advertising, I would assume.
That's a good point.
That's a
We're,
good point, Jer.
we'll buy the signage in 2019 yet, right? So we don't have to worry about
Right.
that. It would
That
just
was
be
my
to
understanding.
advertise
That's
the
what the
open
plan
house or,
So just north
Whatever.
of $2,000 in the 2019 budget, you wanna match that or?
well, depends on what good of a deal we'd get in the
To the what?
He didn't even hear you.
paper. He's not listening to me.
Yeah, he is. He's just choosing not to respond.
But I'm wondering if we want to bump that up some.
Back to 2,000 or?
I wouldn't go much more than that.
Where's it at right now?
Right in the middle, 601-491-251.
It's at $900.
You're proposing to go up to what?
2,000?
Back to where.
That
it was
matches
last
this
year.
year's budget roughly. We got 2013 budgeted for this year. And used
I don't
800.
think it goes anything to hurt. Same number, then you can just.
That's-
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I go
Yeah,
a whole
this
lot
budget
more than
doesn't
that.
affect the levy, so.
Go to
But
2,000
we
for,
should be close on our numbers.
Yep.
Good idea, Jer. Never thought of that. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe Jeff too.
Jeff,
Go hit up the EDA, yeah?
What
EDA.
do you want to talk about with the EDA? O'Brien Court?
No.
That's the only cash cow the EVA has left, and it ain't much of a cash cow.
O'Brien Court, yeah, the 45,000, looks like we're on pace for 2019
What
to,
number?
What page are we here?
Oh, here, page 9.
I got page 6 on mine. See, the $45,000, that's the lease agreement that we're in right now. Through 2019, you're sitting at 33,750 with a budget should be fine for 2020 for the 45,000. Because that 33,750 that we've spent so far in 2019, that
I'm
actually
not
is,
looking at the right page.
I'm not either.
well, I think mine
Not
looks,
matching up
I
with
think
it.
mine looks different than all of yours.
What's the account code?
417, or no, 303 fund?
303.
So page 9.
Page 9 in the packet there.
For O'Brien Court, right? That's what we're talking about?
Yeah, but my
Yeah.
page 9 in the packet that I got from up here is for the library trust fund.
Are
Are you in
on
revenue or are you in
expenditure or revenue?
expenditure?
Well, I'm on the page 6 of the O'Brien, 303 O'Brien Court. Interest, rent proceeds, refunds and reimbursements.
That's,
You're in the revenue budget.
that's the revenue.
side.
So I don't have the other one then.
This?
No, page 9.
Page 9, that's
No,
O'Brien
that's
Court. Isn't there a
It
separate
was on
one
the
for
revenue.
EDA?
Yeah, there's one earlier.
Yeah, there's the EDA one.
That's
Yeah, that's,
page
Page
Oh, we
2?
can still do O'Brien,
2.
There isn't much change in there.
you know, be a simple one to check off.
Which one?
The O'Brien Court, 417.
Economic development, there we go.
101, 417.
Yeah,
You know, the thing is, we're transferring out more.
not much happening there. O'Brien Court, so you got it, page 9 now, Jeff?
yep, I do have, I've got the page 9.
The only question I had for you, Jeff, was just about the equipment and improvement. There's nothing budgeted in that,
Oh, we didn't spend anything in 2019.
but if they all of a sudden, I mean,
Well, there,
if they need new,
O'Brien Court,
yeah,
just like the, you know, the insurance claim that went through right now, that all's taken care of by there, but anything else that goes along with that, I believe, isn't that Sanford though? Because we pay for, like, the amount that was paid so far this year all come from, the parking lot that we put in. I think it was $28,000. That was most of the expenditures for this year. So I don't think any kind of computer system or anything like that, wouldn't that go through Sanford, since what would that have to, why would the EDA pay for that?
because it's your building. So
Yeah.
if it's attached to the building, you know, say, if they need to, I don't know what the
Windows or roof or
windows or
whatever.
anything. like
outdoor
that.
lighting,
That would come under the $45,000 that we bring in, that would be the
I
expenditure.
just don't want to short you, that if all of a
No.
sudden you get an expense out there and we have nothing in the budget for you.
We actually have robbed from this here to actually pay for some of it in O'Brien Court before, or, I'm sorry, Orchard Lanes.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, it's not a great deal, but $45,000 does cover
Pretty much.
the expenses.
It helps.
Okay.
It helps, yeah.
I just didn't want to short you if all of a sudden you needed something with that building.
okay?
Go to,
Page 2,
is that what you got, is page 2?
bottom of page 2.
Wages. Under office supplies, communications, and
Yep, and then when Chris and I went over some of this, everything looked pretty close. I mean, it's all, even with the travel conferences, we didn't, we haven't used hardly any of that this year, just because I didn't think there was some things that were worth it.
But
Rest of it's in the-
500 should cover anything that would
It
probably.
really,
come
really
up.
should, yeah. You know, and we have some, advertising that go along with that. I mean, that comes obviously right out of the 417 account.
Anything under other contractual, because I didn't see anything.
Where are you looking at?
Bottom
On,
line.
on EDA.
Well,
321, but I'm trying to remember what that 10,000,
as long as the other, because I had a question under the, when it
It
comes,
was 59,000 in 2018.
that was because we
was
were
his wages.
contracting,
He wasn't our
he
employee.
wasn't our employee.
Okay,
So, and that's why there's nothing there right
but that
now.
also brings up a point though with Orchard Lanes out there. When I'm looking at it, I see the interest payments, the principal payments, but I don't see the $12,000 for lawn and snow removal, that care.
In the expenditures?
Yeah,
That
mean-
would be under EDA, that'd be under Orchard Lane.
it would be under the Orchard Lanes period. That's where I was looking at it with this one over here.
Okay, so go back to your EDA one here first before I move on. There shouldn't really be anything that we need the $10,000 for contractuals once he became our employee. I'm not sure why we kept 10,000 in there.
because it was the very end of the year that he
Yep.
became the employee, that's why.
That's
Oh,
why.
This would have
okay.
been, so the 2019 would have been set.
This would have been residual
he became
before.
an employee.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yep. Okay, so Orchard Lane is where? What page? I saw it too, but I don't remember where it was.
Page 15.
15. There we go.
Um, $30,000 with the loans we paid, then we got the interest on the 39,300, which is a killer. I don't know what percentage rate that is on. We tried to, there's no way of getting that lowered any, because I get those quarterly notes from Eilers that say
We've
that.
already refinanced them bonds.
Yeah, you can't do it until 2025, I believe, is the first time, because we looked at possibly even selling this, and we couldn't do that through that, is it a go bond, or till 2025, so we got about 6 more years on that.
Holy man.
But it takes care of itself, though, because we bring in, it's never had an empty, in the 2 years I've been here, it's never been empty, and right now we have a list of 13 people looking to get in there. So we bring in 82,000, which covers the contractual, for the snow removal and the lawn care. It takes care of the interest payments, and it takes care of the principal payments. That's when I took over that last year. I saved the $6,000 a year, which we don't have to pay for. You know, we still have things that are done out there, but maintenance, yeah, the general maintenance that I can do, as long as it isn't electrical or plumbing or
So
something.
that's under other contractual? The snow removal and lawn care?
Should be.
But is 10,000 gonna be enough? If we're already at 8,800? Did you say it was 12,000?
It's 12,000, it's 1,000 a month for that, yes.
So why wouldn't we budget 12,000 if we know it's gonna cost us 12,000?
I don't know.
Because I didn't know. That's just-
It's changed now.
And again, that's taken care of through what we bring in.
Yep.
Yep.
Because you see 18s there, that would have been with the 6,000 for that they're paying for the, what'd you call it, the maintenance? General maintenance. Yep.
Okay, anything further for Jeff?
Can I just, why did utilities jump so much? I mean, year to date, it's 1,500.
Yeah, you're right. 200%.
It depends on the vacancies, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that doesn't,
We don't have
that,
any vacancies.
We've been full the whole time I've been here.
you know, because the only utilities that we pay are it's the silver plan of 22, I think, is it 2250?
Well, we were
Unit.
budgeted
Trying to think
518
of
and
what else.
519, but we've spent 1,500 this year.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
Spend
think
it
of
all.
what else, what it came under utilities under there, though.
I'll look into it and see what was paid out of there.
What is
2250.
2250 times 12 times 8 equals, that's only 2160, just for that silver plan. I think that's what it is 2250.
You'll look that up, Peggy, tomorrow or whenever.
Yeah, that's
See where-
fine.
If it was miscoded or if we need to.
Has it been moved for the 2019 actual amount for insurance and bond? Is at 0 right now? Be line
Yeah,
261.
I see that nothing's been paid.
Nothing's been paid yet, are there?
Not as of August 15th.
So is it getting paid out of somewhere else?
Could be,
Is it annual?
yeah, I don't know. I haven't, guess I haven't seen that.
Same with licenses and taxes.
Yep, same thing. I wish we'd
Just make sure that's in, we're getting what we're supposed to be getting there.
So the 1512 for the 411 fund is all going to Minnesota Energy for the service plan.
what is do you see what the service,
$21 per unit per month.
that doesn't come out to the 21, or I got 2250.
Why was it
Is
only,
there a base charge plus that?
No, and that's the only thing I would pay from,
units out there?
Yep.
yep, 8 units.
20, that's not even.
That's about 2,000.
Why was it only 500?
1,500 so far.
Comes out perfectly at 1,512 if you got 8 units times
You know, maybe we,
$21 a month times 9 months, which we're on month 9 of the year, it's $1,512.
maybe that's something that we went to in, yeah, but I wasn't the one that made that change to go to that silver
Bumped it
plan.
up, or added that
Were we not under the silver
we weren't
plan?
under the silver in all of them. I think we were, and then we had them on 5th Street and 3rd Street East too, that we've taken off. But that won't even reflect here.
No, they were
Now, we had a
under,
different rate on that or not, but yeah.
when we had more of them,
Yeah.
a discount. I don't, yeah, that's all I've ever paid was that 20s amount.
$2,016 is what you need if you continue that trend to the end of the year.
I was gonna say, then we're
2016.
short.
$1,000?
How many times have we used that so far, Jeff?
I haven't.
That's the appliances, the
Appliances.
furnace, the air conditioners.
Nope, not the.
Not the furnace?
Not the furnace, no. It is just the refrigerator, the stove, the dishwasher, I believe washer and dryer. No, the washer and
No.
dryer owned by the
Are owned by the tenants.
tenants.
Sure it's not on the furnace?
Usually it's a furnace plus.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah,
a
you
furnace.
gotta add to that, because remember we had talked about that, about switching it over to putting the furnace / air conditioner on that, and then we decided. So at least it needs to be at the 2016 to cover the $21 a month.
And how old are those?
They were built in 2011 is when, they were built in 2010, they were moved into in 2011, so they're 8 years old.
So we're getting to the point where
Now
those
it's what-
appliances
yeah.
we're gonna
And
start
that's why we
getting
put
paid
it on
back.
there, yeah. That's,
That could be, that probably wasn't out there
We
in,
should start getting the break even backwards
Yeah.
on those in the next couple of years, you would think.
it don't take long on a service call.
well, yeah, it takes one refrigerator and
Yeah.
that,
Well, I don't think they'll replace it, they'll repair them.
they'll repair it though.
Yeah.
I mean, but you've seen something like that go $500 for a refrigerator.
Do you see a contract increase with,
They didn't, there was no contract increase that was sent to me anyway, no.
for, the mowing or snow removal?
I don't, no, I don't.
That's set for another year yet, ain't it? or-
Wasn't it through 2020 is, you know what, was it 19 or 20? I'm not sure, I'd have to look in the file.
You check on that, make sure we got that covered, so we gotta re-let it.
So we want to increase this utilities to,
2016.
2,000.
And then you're gonna check into the insurance and bonds
licenses
and the license.
On when they get paid.
Is that all of yours, Jeff?
Could be lots of changes over the next year. 2 years.
All right.
Yes,
806.
That one.
Page 46.
This would be just the general office supplies. It's kind of hard to put anything into that because when I was a contract employee then in 2018, yeah, there was a little bit more to budget, but now it's just kind of a shared amount because I paid for all my own paper, my own everything else, and now it's just a shared amount from right down here. Travel and conference.
Wasn't that in the other?
So why the
Did
4432?
you have 500 in your other?
Yeah, it was in the
yeah, it was 500 on that
regular
one.
EDA.
So $4,400 for travel and conference.
I don't know what I would do with it.
Okay. I like those.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
know what you do with it. You
Do we
go
just-
right back to Hawaii.
Do we,
We could do that.
do we eliminate that one?
Yeah, he's got 500 in the other.
And
You know,
really,
what I would do on that is drop that down to 500. If something does come up, then he's got a backup.
500 in both of them.
Yeah. That gives you a backup.
That gets me to the 2 conferences that I would go to a year. Most of them are, you know, $80 for this and then I just drive to it, so it's.
And is the printing and publishing, a lot of the signs and stuff?
That's what I was thinking. Is that the banners and the signs?
Well, yeah, it's any kind of advertising, that's what I put that under. I mean, it just depends
So
on.
you need to increase that. I mean, you have a lot of signs now you'll be reusing.
Yeah, we don't, you know, we won't use a lot of the, or we'll just continue to use those.
There's 5,500 spent this year so far. We're budgeting 1,650, so
Do you think maybe those 2 lines got switched around?
The
241 and
yearly amount
251?
is fed through by what expenses have been incurred.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, I mean for the 2020 budget though.
but there
That's
was,
possible.
Well, if you look at the 2019 budget, for some
Yeah.
reason, travel and conferences,
Was
Was
there,
I don't know what we were
44.
doing that night that we gave you $4,400.
So we're
did he
dropping
bring any
that
kind
down
of
to,
beverages for the council that evening?
so we're dropping that down to 500, but printing and publishing, just with what you've got
Yeah.
going on, should that be like $2,000?
I would say right around 2,000 because a lot of those
'Cause like you said,
expenses
most of
shouldn't
the
be there.
banners and
That'd be
stuff are-
5, 5, and 5. But we did the backside of the peach and we'll do that again probably 3 times, 4 times, so.
Yeah, but where did we spend $5,500?
We got involved in that, Welcome to Tracy booklet. That was one that wasn't.
It was for the Broad Acres project that we advertised for multiple times.
The lots and the
The
lots for sale.
That's where you don't see
The
the,
actual metal signs that we
Yep.
made too, and
Yeah, those were a couple hundred apiece or something,
yeah, three of the first ones were, yeah, 375, I believe,
which are reusable.
and they're
Yeah,
all
so that-
reusable.
Yeah,
But still with the printing and publishing, it's still gonna be, we're gonna wanna advertise the city of Tracy for 2020 through the Peach and whatever we need in the newspaper.
Well, to be honest, I was thinking 3,000 because you look at 18, you spent almost 3,000.
Well, if you put the line force, or 241 at that 500, and there's, like Tony said, there'd be 500 in each one of them. I just,
You're
Yeah.
saying 3,000 on printing and publishing?
yes, I mean,
That would work.
like you
I
said.
think 3,000 would be better than the 2,000. Yep.
So then licenses and taxes, how come there's so much spent in 2019? Is that for land sales? Is what I assume?
No idea.
And other contractual, is that for?
That's for your legal fees and that.
Is it-
That's where that went, yeah. That's what we're gonna need to get a handle on them.
Legal closing fees, anything like that falls into that.
Under the other.
Other contractuals, 321.
Miscellaneous.
So what's the miscellaneous then?
There's,
Yeah, there's,
Over
Whatever's in
20.
miscellaneous, we need to actually not put in there, we need that.
In a
Yeah.
department.
Yep.
yeah, we got almost 30,000 in miscellaneous.
That wouldn't be, our demos, and haul away in the lots.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you
He's on it.
would we put those in there?
You got what, 3, 4, almost 5 houses?
331.
Yep.
That would be but then it would be, that would have been offset by the money that we'd have brought in for like the Broad Acres. We just haven't brought anything in on the Second Street.
Right.
My thought was that the miscellaneous actually belonged under the 501.
So why the 2020 budget for equipment and improvements for 48,193?
Because if it's improvements, if that's for the 29,180, we don't want to budget anything into miscellaneous. We should find a category for it to fit.
Right.
So you're
That's
thinking
a lot.
501s
Or
where
if
that,
you add those two
I
together.
think that's where that miscellaneous was.
29, 39, that is 48, that comes out to 48. Well, if you want to save a little money there, if that is the house is getting torn down and everything getting,
That's a lot of money.
depends if you want to tear down another 3 or 4 houses as an EDA though.
I think we need to keep some money in there. I don't think we wanna, but I think I'm with Peggy. We just combine those so we have the 48, knowing if that's what we've spent.
Is that something
That's where we
Chris
have
would have
to
entered
find
in when we started talking about, I'm sorry, when we started talking about the old Asian market, putting a new roof on it and doing something to the inside?
Well, the cut from 2018 budget on the 501 is the same as, I mean, we just copied 2020
Yep.
and then made changes where we knew changes needed to be made.
So out of that account, we got, the biggest ones, we got, Lane County recorders, we have asbestos inspections, we have
Mm-hmm.
2 demolitions,
Yeah, and-
Western Printing,
Western
2,500 at Tracy Academy of Dance. I don't know why
We're
that's
at
in.
5,000.
That would've been
That's at $5,000, yep.
business
program.
reward,
Yep, that reward.
so that's all getting put in there.
That falls under miscellaneous, so.
But we should have a item for that award, reward.
Yes, reward.
Reward.
And all the demolition stuff should be under contract.
Yep.
Sure it would go under contractual though?
Yeah, it doesn't belong in the equipment.
I know it doesn't,
Anytime you contract.
well, equipment and
work out,
improvement, so it, and that's where you've got it right now.
But we can move it
Yeah,
to make it right.
so that it makes, yeah,
And then you just, when you get your budget, then you just,
spend money where you see it.
Where it's on
where
here.
it's under. You still have the money, it's just where you code it.
Yep.
But what did we spend on $30,000 on in miscellaneous?
That's what he was just.
Just all that stuff you were just saying? Okay.
Even the asbestos, you know, it comes out in those two houses over there, I believe it came out to, was it $7,000
So
just to
other
do it legally?
contractual is
Just,
legal,
that wasn't to tear it down, that was just the
And then
asbestos.
it will be this stuff.
Abatement.
So those two were moving together. Get rid of miscellaneous.
It's still not gonna affect the total budget. It's just gonna affect that
Yeah.
line item.
The line item's gonna,
And it'll give us a better idea of what's going where and the, like you said, the rewards program.
Yep.
That'll have its own.
So
bucket.
where would you want that rewards
Yeah,
program
where do
then?
we- Cause now what's under equipment and improvement?
Broad acres. That's an improvement.
But I mean, right now, cause there's 18,000, cause that's out of 501.
No, equipment improvement on here for the 2020 budget was 48, that was where we're,
But what, yeah, she's asking what have you spent so far, what did that 18,492 go to?
Yeah, what's in 501 as of today?
you got two of your first half payments on the business reward, and you gotta have the other two budgeted for 2020. The other halves if you're gonna pay them.
And hopefully a couple more.
but you're right though, there shouldn't be the asbestos removal, because I don't think we're gonna, as of right now, we don't plan on jumping into that like we did this past year. Of course, the Broad Acres, a lot of that demolition, that'd have been in,
The 18,000, a lot of that is for your piping and stuff that's been delivered out to that site.
Yeah.
Broad acres?
Mears Electric for 154.17. I don't know what that would be from, but.
Power disconnect before we rent them.
Was it this year though?
when was that? I'm trying to think of.
We had to have the electrician do something to get
That
rid of
would be
that pole out
considered
there.
contractual also.
Unless it's part of that improvement.
And none of that's gonna affect the levy, it's just something that you guys are gonna need to create.
Nothing in 806 will affect the levy.
You want different line items created for that?
Well, you're gonna need to create a line item just for your reward program, or we need to get rid of it, because you got a budget for that. You can't just take it from here, there, or
I
anywhere.
was just saying, right now we know there's another, what, 2,500, two other halves.
Yep.
That'll be paid out next year.
Plus,
That
if
too.
you
But there'll
have
be another
first
one.
halves,
What's any new first halves? Yep.
So there'll be probably 4 of them paid out, so it'll be
10,000.
10,000.
So why did license and taxes go up so much year to date? There's only 6,500 in there that we spent.
Taxes would probably be the properties that we'd all bought in the last year too.
We buy them in back or in lieu?
And we did some back taxes that we had paid back 4,300, I think was what we paid for the Second Street apartments. It was, I believe those were about 4,300 in the back taxes, just to get it out of their hands. Because we had to pay it, so we basically paid ourselves. It's just different programs that we've done
That's fine.
in the last couple of years as opposed to 17 or 16 or
Wanted
anything.
an answer.
Yeah, they're all going to Lyon County Auditor.
Anything else for Jeff? All right, thank you. Unless you have something further, Jeff?
No. Can I get this, a copy of that better one? Can I get a copy of that better one? Or that? Yeah, I'll take that one actually when you're done, because I have my notes on it.
Nice seeing you.
Stop again.
It's awesome to see you at a meeting.
I got this one out of the way, and I got another quarter if I have to come back.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions on the rest of it.
Okay,
Where
Shane,
do we begin?
let's
So
see.
if you want to go through it line by line or not, but.
Not
Where'd
like,
you put your flowers?
Yeah, where are the flowers in here?
Is there anything, I guess, I don't know how you want me to go through them all, or?
Have you, does it, your numbers reflect putting a full-time on for 2020 in your department?
No.
not in addition.
So, yeah, don't we need, weren't we looking at a couple of part-timers? And now, do we need
That
another
hasn't been so successful yet, that's why
full-time as well?
maybe advertise for a full-time and see what, if you can get it
See if we can
reflected. in
Shake
there.
somebody loose.
Yeah.
I have to do some computation on
Yeah.
that, but.
And then in the streets and parks, you got 185 for your transfer out. That's for the
40 of that would be the,
improvement.
Yeah, so if you wanted to bond that 40,000, you'd take that out of that, transfers out. Because the bond would pay for the equipment.
Right.
That does seem like the smart thing to do.
Yeah, that'd take the sting out of it, out of the levy, I mean. I was thinking too, on another full-timer, if there's enough where, if you got enough built in through all that, where you could put one on. Or not.
Currently, no. Can't really take much out of the equipment. I think the
That's
average age of our equipment's 24 years old.
That's, well, no, yeah, but I'm thinking about all, the broad spectrum, not just that one fund there. You already whacked it 40 grand if we do that refi. But it's,
So you'll see some differences in wages there. A lot of that's house cleaning, because there's full-timers getting paid out of temporary in the software
Yeah.
system.
yeah, it's the bottom line,
It's balanced out, but I don't know why it was set up that way, but. We took a hit this year with snow removal, and the wet pattern looks like it's gonna continue, so we did go up a little bit on overtime. And fuel, I believe. The rest of it, I think,
And about sand and salt.
that's figured in.
So you said the temporary and part-time, that quoted to just the regular wages?
So the guys
It
were
really
getting,
dropped down there.
yeah.
add the two together. And then add the two together. I mean, if you look at what's been used, those two, and then
Okay.
what's projected, if you put the, you should get around the same totals.
Actually, it
We
did get
do
dropped
some
down.
cleanups. On which
Like
one?
$576 on 103.
Let me see.
I mean, if you would add it to the overtime, but that's not what we're,
Mhm.
And, sorry to jump around.
Um,
Hey, go ahead.
There's some changes done to the wage breakout too. So none of Shane's guys are paid 100% out of any one spot.
Right.
Right.
So there was some changes in those percentage breakouts too. So,
it just seems to drop down to $576
or, I'm sorry, which line?
for
item?
temporary, the third one, 103. In Department 431, in Streets and Parks.
Page 4.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
431. Bottom of the page, page 4. There we go.
I would say it probably should land in the 4,500 to 5,000 range based on the trend.
Well, that's something that can be adjusted too, because you're gonna have to get that wages knocked or nailed down before
Mhm.
we can finalize it in December anyway, so.
Just depends which category you want to drop it in.
Yeah, it'll pan
I'm
out.
getting allocated right now.
What are standby
So
wages?
standby wages is when they're on call.
Oh,
They get paid for so much a week for being on call. You're pretty much
Gotta look at that one, Peggy.
stuck to home.
That's in a contract too, right?
Yep.
I'm sure they've been getting paid it, it's just a matter
That's
of,
the way it's allocated in the time card software. We'll look at that too.
well, and you've just done how much work with that software? I mean, with payroll.
We're slowly trying to make it user
We were
friendly.
down
Yeah.
Wednesday and Thursday again.
Yeah,
That's-
that's why you didn't get your transfer spreadsheet or the levy amount.
Bingo.
Could have sent you this paper copy, what we wanted to do, but we couldn't do it till Friday.
That's okay.
So, sorry, I jumped ahead to cemetery, which is page 8. Other contractual. Budgeted 5 last year, haven't spent a penny, and now we're up to 10. Is there something?
Page 8,
Yeah, the cemetery?
regular wages.
No,
Oh, other
the
contractual.
other contractual. We budgeted 5.
Okay, so this isn't gonna really affect the levy, but the total that we put aside every year for fixing stones is 5,000.
Gotcha.
Is it so
Yep.
junky this year, we didn't get anything done?
I knew there was a number in there, it just looked funny.
Move it over.
So 5,000 will be transferred into the fund for this year, but we'll spend it next year.
Yep. I knew there was, remember hearing something,
Yeah.
but it just looked odd.
Here your temporary and part-time is way
Yeah.
high, so maybe that's, it's gotta be how they're coding.
Yeah, you see
Yeah.
in the
Hours.
cemetery, the year-to-date full-time wages is 0.
Mm-hmm. And the temporary and part-time is 12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, look at the regular and part-time together.
Add it all
Look at them
together and-
again. And we'll make that, we decided not to make any changes in 2019. We're gonna let it finish out this flow. And then 2020.
Are we still on the cemetery?
Yeah.
Look at your regular wages, your Oh, I got temporary, you, yeah. part-time. I'm one column off.
The best part is the bottom numbers still work out.
Yes.
Just, they're not where they belong.
So back to
Yeah.
Tony's original thing. In all the different departments that you do for your department, do we need to do something to increase to allow another full-time employee?
Yeah, and it's a matter how we wanna separate that person out. into the different
But I
departments.
mean, you wanna do that for this
To make a
budget.
line item, would it be easier if we put it under street at 100% for an employee's wage?
We could,
Because in the end, it's going to,
We'll go where it needs to go anyway.
Right.
but if they're gonna do some sewer and water work also, that isn't gonna hurt the levy as bad.
that's true.
Right.
If you separate it.
Yeah.
So is
So
there,
if
is
I
there,
know they're gonna be in those departments, then it's best to budget that way.
say, is there a formula percentage that somebody, you know, they do 50 street, probably 30 this and 20 that, just
I'll
for
take like
the number purposes?
Clay or Bart and find out what percentage they work
Clay
where.
split out more than anyone.
Yeah, because he's building too, building
Oh, yeah,
inspections.
that's right. Okay.
So yeah, just use a formula to get it into the right categories.
Starting wage and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, like you said, then it's gonna work out to where you need it to be, but it's all the same bottom line.
Yep. Overall, it will be.
So
I can work that in.
is one full-timer enough?
Yeah. If it doesn't snow, it gets hard to keep them busy too.
Yep.
I just wanna make sure that you got what you need.
And then we'll nix the 2 part-timers for fall. Well, we usually have 1 around anyway, but,
Yeah, I wouldn't-
leaves and stuff, but
If you're not having any luck getting any apps for the part, go ahead and, I think we need to go ahead and advertise for a full-time and then go ahead and budget for a full-time employee for next year. And you know, just so we got the levy set.
yep.
Yeah, we could go, one full-time is more than 2 part-time, right? So if we budget for 1 full-time,
Yeah.
we could always go to 2 part-time and we'd still save money. If,
Well, just
if it
insurance
becomes,
alone.
yeah, feasible, so,
Yeah, it just depends on, the experience of the person. You're not gonna find anybody experienced that'll work for $12 an hour,
No.
so.
Especially if you're gonna use them for the snow removal and.
Yeah, 'cause you're getting up at
trucks.
1 o'clock in the morning and getting beat up. Having breaks, everything like that. A part-timer wouldn't.
all right.
But 1 more guy will also alleviate some of the overtime too and save there.
Well, yeah, and that was we're looking at,
I can
Not
put that
much
on
in
the agenda for
overtime,
the regular
well.
meeting.
because it's all broke out into different areas, how much overtime are we really using?
Street department, all 10,000 this year.
Easily.
We haven't
Yeah.
hit this first part of this winter, so.
Well, and that's where I was going, is that we need to cut down the overtime and,
Yeah, overtime pretty much is what it is. Mother Nature dictates it, so. I mean, if it happens on a weekend, you gotta move snow on the weekend, you have no choice. But,
yep,
If it happens during the day and it's, 10-hour day, you could probably save those 2 hours.
Can we schedule this winter snow?
Please.
That'd be all right.
Try.
I'd love it.
so I can be down
can
south when
try.
it happens?
Can I ask, 'cause I'm sitting here going from the beginning and all that, the transfers out from the airport maintenance went down to 0?
The fund is actually self-sufficient enough for
Would reach,
next year
Okay.
with the grant money coming in.
Okay.
That's why we removed that one.
Okay. Erase that. And unallocated. I'm not used to a unallocated budget.
I'm not either, I haven't been able to.
And that's a little bit of money.
A lot of that,
Jerry, I'm sorry.
463, Department
463.
463 are unallocated.
Page 6.
a lot of that's gonna be your property taxes, your accounting fees for like your Audit.
fees
at the end of the year,
after them.
kind of citywide type, not the individual department.
Well, that's a better explanation. That makes more sense
Yeah.
than is been unallocated miscellaneous. Why are we doing that? Well, because it's a nice place to put money. It's like, that doesn't make sense to me, but
So I don't know whose it belongs to account.
there you
It's a petty
Like,
cash fund.
As long as there's reason as to what gets coded there.
And all cities have that fund, and
Okay.
do the same thing, so.
The, under the 413 other contractuals, is that where our attorney fees is? The 413, 321?
Yep.
Okay. And we didn't come up with a number for 2020?
Oh,
Why am
well,
I not seeing
no,
413?
it's under,
Oh, yeah.
Administration.
it's under legal 416.
Oh,
What's under, okay, 416? Oh, there you go, that's other contract, all right.
101, 416,
Oh, other
321.
contractual, under legal.
Yep.
yep.
But do you think other contractuals under administration,
I'm trying to figure out what
year
that's.
to date?
Because, yeah, the
That's what I'm
year-to-date amount
wondering.
is without a budget on it, I mean.
Holy crap.
We should probably see what's being spent in
We should
there.
probably look at that one.
Yeah, we might want to look at that.
Okay.
'Cause it's getting coded to the right.
This year. This was 18.
Subs and memberships. We had a 6,100% increase.
Under which account?
Subs and memberships and,
The 2019 budget was set at $40, but the 2018 spent was $2,970, and we've already spent $2,428. So I don't think the 2018 set was right at $40. Because doesn't the league pay, doesn't that expense come out of their Shane?
That must be where, yeah, that would make sense. That would be the league dues.
Yeah. So I don't know why it would have been, so it looks like a lot compared to 2018, but I don't think $40 in 2018.
That wasn't, yeah.
$40 was on the 19 budget.
Or in the, yeah, in the 19 budget,
Yeah.
when we spent 2,970 in 18, and we've spent 2,420. So it looks like we took a 6,000% increase.
But there was a bad
But the
number
number
put
was
in the
bad.
year before.
You're saying that's a typo.
The $40,
Well, no, it was budgeted
it was
incorrectly.
budgeted that
We
way.
just didn't catch it.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
6,000% increase, that's just nothing.
That's no troubles. 6,000%, we can take that, right?
Off of $40, I'll take that one.
Well, I think the task for Monday's meeting would be let them know about throwing that 40 into the bond refinance.
Yep.
Do that. Figure out what a full-timer is going to affect the 2020 budget. What else was there?
I got a list of the individual departments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got all that, but,
I don't think there's anything else.
What were we gonna go with for
What are you looking at
percentage on
for a
the
levy?
levy?
Well,
I mean, we're making cuts here and we
we're
started
taking
out.
out and adding in. If you got to figure right now at 8%, knowing we don't know what the wages are going to be,
I would say 8% as well. That's where I was going.
yeah, I would say, see what it, work your number in and see what it does a full-timer's going to do to what you've got with your corrections. And
Bring it to the council.
bring it to the council, hey, this is where we're at. Because we know it's going to be more money on that side. We just don't know how much. But we know that, you know, it's going to be a necessary expense, and then we can figure out what we're going to do with the rest. Once we get the labor contracts nailed down, then we can go back and fine tune it and come up with a final in December.
Well, but again, you can go down but not up.
Right.
So with the labor contract still pending, do we want to go to 10% and give ourselves that room?
Well,
No,
we did on the wages, you
Assume
did,
3.
she assumed
I would-
3.
I
Yep.
assumed,
Assume.
So it's
three.
not
I
like
took the
we should be
wage.
that far off.
and gave the step increases at whichever pay period they should have gotten, and then I gave 3% on both sets of wages. So prior step and after step.
Okay.
So we've got a 3%
I just want to
already
make
built
sure we
in.
don't tie our own hands and get stuck here, that's all.
The 412 fund for elections,
That was my other question. Do you think you got enough in there?
Yeah, no.
she don't think there's.
No, because you got election judges and everything else in there.
Election judges, ballots, programming.
Training.
Plus
2020
it's
is an
a,
election year.
it's a presidential
Yeah.
election year, so we're gonna have a lot more
Oh.
ballots and
They're
everything.
thinking like a 2,000 overall.
Is that going to be enough, or is there any way you can,
We can look
I
at
can check with the
2016.
auditor's office to see.
check with 2016, that 10%?
But now we have polling pads and different equipment, so there's different software programming that we get billed for now.
Oh, that's special.
If you want to look into that,
Yeah, I will.
Try and get you a good number for,
we can always hash this out once more on Monday.
yep.
We get the bulk of it this time. It's easier to make changes. We got a week yet.
Well, and that's why I was thinking we want to give ourselves room to work.
I mean, these changes won't take more than an hour to make.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the levy percentage, the
Yeah.
8% versus 10% versus, 6.
As far as the accounts that'll hit the levy, other than the wages, most of them went down.
Right.
You know, we've chopped about $7,000 out of it.
About 47, which would be about a wash with a new employee.
Yeah, so I mean, with that 40, so, you know, we're for sure good at where we're at. It's just how much we can go down from here.
So we saying, well, where were we, 5.89 or something?
8.2, I thought.
Well, I thought after we took that 40 out, yeah,
After the tractor was out,
it was
It was
8.2.
6.3. Yeah.
Then we took something else after that. It was small. It was like
we started chewing away at them.
2,500 bucks, so,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so what do we want to stay at, 8.2% then? That's where
See when
we're
he
at?
comes back with the final number Monday night, and then we can discuss and
Okay.
make that the initial.
We can go up between now and Monday, but we can't go back.
And go back down once you set up.
Quick
Monday.
question, on the
Back up.
street department, is there money in here for, like how this year you ended up doing quite a bit of repair and stuff like
Oh,
that?
patching
Yeah, and we know the streets
are
aren't,
perfect.
That is under, we did put some money aside under the permanent improvement fund. We put another 20,
We added 20,000.
yeah, so we added 20,000 to the permanent improvement fund, which won't really be in here, it's just gonna be, it comes right out of the levy into the permanent improvement fund, which is 403
Okay.
on the revenue side, so.
So there would be money, or will be money.
Because we need to start seal coating and crack
What
seal
we can,
before we start losing our good roads.
Yeah,
You know, some of the bad ones, you know, if they're getting replaced in 3 years, there's no sense in putting money into them, other than fixing the holes in them, but.
I just
Some of
wanted to
them,
make
yeah,
sure we
pretty
did
well.
include some money because
Front
it seems
Street,
like we're playing catch-up all the time.
yeah. Front Street, I see FEMA taking care of most of that. We may have to put the bill up front, but, I'm actually, I got some square foot estimates from the engineers, so I'm gonna go around and measure all the spots and have done it. Come in, depending on the cost of the project, but they're in town already.
How about
helps.
First Street East?
That's a ways out yet.
One of the reasons that the streets are in the situation they're in, stopped doing anything until we knew how this infrastructure project was gonna take hold. Is in the past, we had bad luck and picked these streets to resurface, and then 2 years later dug them up. So we haven't done anything. In how long, Shane? It's been 4 or 5 years since we had a seal coat project or anything.
Last thing we seal coated was the bike path in 2014, and so
So 5 years ago.
Some of
6 years on the
these,
street, so the areas that are gonna be dug up for the underground infrastructure are gonna be pretty miserable until they get that done.
And I think we can
Yeah.
explain
Yeah.
that to residents.
Well, that's why I mentioned it tonight, and that way, if somebody asks you, you understand, because
right.
They were-
Some of the other streets, though, Lewis and Clark had a smoother trail. I
well,
mean, they're getting bad.
well, Hollis Street's really bad too, but that's getting.
That's getting-
milled
That's
up.
gonna get on
Yeah.
the phase 3, but
And they're actually talking about starting that this year, so.
anyway.
but that's where it's at, and it's not gonna get any cheaper, but
Okay, so does anybody have anything further for this evening?
I make a motion to
If anyone sees anything, just feel free to send me an email this week.
First and second, any further discussion? Let's go to a vote, please.
Jones.
Aye.
Peterson.
I,
Teigs. Dimmers.
Aye, we are officially adjourned.
So recording a copy of the whole thing.
Thank you, everyone.
Shane.